Welcome. Well, you're at home with Jim and Joy, and we're so glad that you tuned in, and we're going to have a wonderful show for you today. But you know what? You are an important part of the family, and we want to hear from you. So we want you to send us an email, jimandjoy@ewtn.com. Now, hun, on a daily basis, one of the things that we try to do in our other place where we work is at Her Choice Birmingham Women's Center, is we are trying, by God's grace and mercy, and compassion and all that we have inside of us, we're trying to build and defend the culture of life.
That's right.
One client at a time.
Right.
Trying to make a difference in the life of a girl who comes in and possibly an unplanned pregnancy. And we want her to have, we want her first to choose life. We want to get her great health care here in the United States of America. And we wanted to have a safe birth. And then also we provide at the center, it's called the Earn While You Learn program, where the moms come in and they go to classes. And our job, what we tell them is, you want to be the best mom on the planet. You just don't want to be a mom. You want to be the best mom. This is such an opportunity to mold and to shape and to disciple first yourself and then your child. And so that's some of the stuff that we do on a daily basis, making a difference, trying to restore the culture from where it's lost its roots as a husband and a wife, a mother and children.
Well, we, along with thousands of pregnancy medical centers, are doing that work. And it can get very intense when a girl comes in and she's abortion minded. And we have to work with them, listen to their story no matter what it is, share information that has to do with why abortion is a great risk to you, physically, emotionally, spiritually, the repercussions of that in terms of excessive bleeding and trauma and punctured uterus and so on. We give them all the facts. And why birth is the way to go to carry this pregnancy, and to rally resources around them, to have a safe delivery, and to tell them what it truly means to be feminine. And like you said, Joy, in the Earn While You Learn class, then we're going over the numerous components. But among those now we're letting these people share, and we're finding that many of our clients, the moms and the guys that might be accompanying them that have chosen life, so many of them come from homes where a dad was missing. Right. You know, like it just isn't there. And broken families. We just let them share about that and ask them questions like, would you have liked to have had your dad there and your mom? And you go, oh yes, we would like to have had that, and so on. And we talk about that, and then we say, you know, that's called marriage. You know, that a child could be with a mom and with a dad, and that a commitment is made for better or worse, for richer or poor. That's not only for that couple, but it's for that child. And so that the best environment for your child really is this environment of marriage and of the family. And so we're trying to bring, again, a remembrance of marriage. So not only carry the pregnancy, we're working that this child will not be killed, that they would carry this pregnancy, this child, and then what happens after that in terms of the best environment for your child. And we're seeing more and more people coming to that place where they're saying, yeah, you know, maybe marriage really is the way, maybe I should do this differently than I've done it now. We're going to have a tremendous guest today in Dr. George Mulcaire-Jones, MD. He's the founder and medical director of Maternal Life International, mlonline.org. This man and this apostolate are absolutely incredible. And his vision, his dream, is to make a safe delivery and a secure family, a safe delivery and a secure family, especially on the continent of Africa and Haiti, an assured thing as much as that can be for all the people, and then to the whole world. And so he's here to share with us this incredible vision and incredible work. You are going to be riveted today. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. The gospel of life is strong and well. Don't go away.
Welcome. Well, you're at home with Jim and Joy. Today we have a wonderful man. Now, I've never met anybody from Butte, Montana. I just never did. Well, today we have Dr. George Mulcaire-Jones, and he's come all the way from Butte, Montana. He is the founder and the medical director of Maternal Life International, mlonline.org. Well, we want to welcome him to At Home with Jim and Joy because we are so excited for all the things that you're going to share with us. But first, and I'm just going to call you George because that's what you want us to call you, tell us first about your life, your family. You're married, you have children. Tell us your story about you.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here. I was born in Helena, Montana, and I was privileged to have a wonderful mother and father who shared with me and lived out their Catholic faith in St. Cyril and Methodius Parish in East Helena, Montana. And I think when I was somewhere in school, there was missionaries that came and gave a presentation once a year. And I think somehow that triggered a desire to go to Africa and to perhaps be of some kind of service. So that was always part of me. And after I finished medical school and residency, I had the opportunity to go to Cameroon through Mission Doctors Association through the Archdiocese of Los Angeles, and worked for 2 years there along with my wife, Mary. And going back to my family, Mary is my beautiful spouse, and we're blessed with 6 children. And our oldest
Grands.
and we have 2 grandsons, Samuel and Jack, who are wonderful additions to our life. And our youngest son, Liam, has Down syndrome, and he's been to Africa with me, and he's a tremendous witness to the gospel of life, has a marvelous way of being, and teaches us the primacy of being over doing. And so that's the background. And then I practice family medicine and obstetrics in Butte, Montana at St. James Healthcare. And we're blessed to have a wonderful hospital, wonderful nurses, where we can ensure that mothers and babies deliver safely. And that's much different than in Africa.
Well, that's where we want to go. We want to know how Maternal Life International was established, because you had some visits over there, but it wasn't MLI. And then what is the vision, what are the components of MLI?
Sure. So our mission is really focused on 2 things: providing women and couples with a safe birth and with a secure, intact family. And that really becomes the cornerstone of authentic human development. And it's really consistent with the Catholic vision of the human person. I became interested in this when I first went to Cameroon. During my training, I never saw a woman dying childbirth in the United States. And when I came to Cameroon, I witnessed maternal deaths. And I still remember, as if it was yesterday, the first time a woman came in who was essentially dead. She had been having multiple seizures in a nearby village. And when she came in, her face was swollen and bruised. There was no fetal heart tones. The baby was dead. She was all swollen, and she didn't respond to pain or touch or anything. So she was brain dead from swelling from severe toxemia of pregnancy. And that condition could have been completely prevented by early recognition in treatment with a simple medicine called magnesium sulfate. So I saw women die of severe toxemia, of obstructed labor, of the simple fact that their uterus wouldn't contract and they kept bleeding after the delivery of the baby.
So it must be, seeing anyone die, especially young, is very difficult. And I'm trying to connect with you what may have been most frustrating for you as a doctor. So it's not only the way I'm viewing you that you watch someone die, but how easily some of these things could have been prevented. I mean, that's really got to be painful for your mind and what you know.
Absolutely, because you can't but think this woman would never have died in the United States. There's a proverb from Chad that says, a pregnant woman has 1 foot in the grave. And that's because if you look at some of the statistics, in the United States, the lifetime risk of a woman dying from complications of pregnancy and childbirth is 1 in 4,000. In Africa as a whole, it's 1 in 40.
Wow.
In some of these countries and some of the rural areas, it can be as high as 1 in 12. These women don't have to die. There's basic things we can do to save their lives and to save the lives of their babies.
So you saw this happening in Cameroon, you say? And so where did you go from there? Did you jump in wholeheartedly? Did you back up a little bit? Say, I don't know what I can do with this. Where did you go from there?
Well, it's interesting. After we had worked in Cameroon for a couple of years, my wife, who is much wiser than I am, said, well, we need to come back. And we had 2 children when we left. We had a 3rd child, Katie, born in Cameroon. So we came back, and I became involved in developing my practice and so forth. And then one day I got a letter from Sister Bernadette, who was the matron of a small maternal health center in a village called Jotten. When I was in Cameroon, I used to go to Jotten once a month to see patients there. And the letter started off with these words: "The month of February was very sad. 2 women died in childbirth." I couldn't sleep that night. And I thought, how could I have closed that chapter and pretend I'd never witnessed those kind of tragedies? And for me, the letter was the impetus to, again, try to address this overwhelming problem of maternal and newborn deaths. And from that point on, we formed an organization, Maternal Life International, and went forward developing training programs and resource assistant programs to improve the level of obstetrical care.
Is the Maternal Life International, is it connected with the Catholic Church? Is it separate? I mean, how does it work?
Well, the vast majority of trainings we have done and that have been through the church. But at the same time, we've done training for all denominations. And there's some countries where a significant percent of the population is Muslim. And it's oftentimes the Catholic hospitals serve that population. So in that way, it's for everybody. It's like the gospel of life.
Right.
It's for everybody. It's the people of life for life.
It's for humans.
Humans, exactly.
We're speaking with Dr. George here with Maternal Life International, and I think we may have said the website incorrectly, so I want to get it right. It's mlionline.org. Is that right?
Correct. Yes.
mlionline.org. You're going to want to go to that to hear about this great and holy work. So you're starting to develop MLI, and you're saying that it could be 1 in 400, some places 1 in 12, where a woman could lose her life in terms of pregnancy. So take us back. You're just beginning that. You're one doctor in the midst of all of this. So where do you go to try and reach as many people as possible? What do you do? Are you bringing doctors over there? Are you trying to train people there? Or what were the steps to develop this?
So we really began by doing trainings. In particular, we began in Nigeria with a program we called Safe Passages. And Safe Passages based upon a foundational premise that every woman should be entitled to a pregnancy and birth that is safe. It's free of death, free of serious injury, and free of the HIV infection. So we would go to Nigeria, to various places, and we would conduct trainings where midwives and physicians and nurses would come in from various hospitals to do the training. And then oftentimes they would take the training and then they would teach in their own institution, what they call step-down trainings. So that's kind of how we spread the Safe Passages program. And then we were working hard on that, and we encountered another reality, and that was the explosion of the AIDS epidemic. So if you went to Africa in the 1990s and early 2000s, there were just all these young women and men dying of AIDS.
Thousands.
Yeah. And I remember visiting hospitals in Malawi and Swaziland and Cameroon, and it was like a scene from a concentration camp, where these people were wasting away, dying of disseminated fungal infections, tuberculosis, massive skin breakdown. And at that point, we shifted our focus from safe passages. We actually developed a program where we taught nurses to work out of parishes to provide home-based care for AIDS patients and their families. That was called the Parish Nurse Program. And it started in Swaziland and then went to South Africa. And it was really amazing to see most of the nurses were elderly who had been retired, but they came back in to help their people. And they would walk miles to care for these people. And they had a motto that no one should die alone, unknown, or unloved.
Wow.
I'll say that
Gus,
again.
no one should die alone, unknown, or unloved. That's the gospel of life in action. And then another reality emerged, and that is at the peak of the HIV epidemic, 9,000 people were dying every day in Africa from AIDS.
9,000?
9,000. Yet there were 14,000 new HIV infections every day. So how in the world are you going to stop the epidemic?
Right.
I mean, 9,000 people are dying, but 14,000 new infections every day.
Well, you know what some people would say? To how you cure that would be condoms.
Yeah, and that's a great myth.
It's
Right.
a myth.
Yeah, and so what ultimately has led to the decline in HIV is what's called reduced multiple concurrent partnerships, i.e. being faithful.
Right.
Antiretrovirals have also played a role too. So we started a program in collaboration with Catholic Relief Services called the Faithful House. And the Faithful House was to go right to the grassroots and to get women and couples to rebuild their marriage. And we used the metaphor, the comparison, to a traditional African house. And so couples were led through a participatory process with trained facilitators using that comparison to the house. So they would look at their foundation of the house in God. Right. How is our relationship with God? They would look at 4 pillars, 4 posts that hold up the traditional African house: true love, faithfulness, communication, respect. We would continue that, progressing to windows of light and forgiveness. And then look at how their house was broken. What was it? Was it infidelity? Was it domestic abuse? Was it alcoholism? And how could that be repaired? And again, amazing things happened with that program.
And so couples would go and they would really just look at how they are broken, learn how they can be repaired, but then you revive a whole community, right? I mean, because what's happening is then other people are seeing marriages and lives change and saying, well, I want that too, right?
And you're also saying that this is the key prevention for HIV.
Absolutely.
And besides other things.
Absolutely. Yeah, so we call it couples-centered development. And it's very powerful, and exactly what you have described recently. If I can paraphrase a email I got just last month, it was from Rwanda, where a priest of a parish was writing to thank us for sending Ugandan trainers to Rwanda, where they introduced the Faithful House. And he said, early fruit of the program is witnessed when we see the husbands going to haul water while the wife is cooking, or the husband peeling the bananas while she's preparing for a meal. Wow. That's something that is somewhat taken for granted, but that's a paradigm shift for Rwanda. And Father Bonaventure went on to say that this is transforming. We have 40 couples signed up for the next Faithful House training.
Yeah.
So again, that kind of changing the paradigm, kind of changing the culture of relationships between men and women is really key to development.
And restoring families back to
Absolutely.
what they're supposed to be, and husbands being faithful to their wives, and that and no one's getting AIDS. They're being faithful, they're being healthy, and they're reviving and restoring in their family, which is so
Absolutely.
beautiful.
Absolutely, and to see So many stories we've had of couples emerging out of poverty. Once they heal their marriage and they begin working together, they begin pooling their resources. Maybe the husband who was drinking stops drinking. Great things happen. And that comes back to really the two things that we want for the world. We want safe births and we want secure families. That's the greatest gift that we can give, to have this baby born alive and well and welcomed into the arms of a loving mother and father.
We're speaking with Dr. George Mulcaire-jones, and we're speaking about Maternal Life International, this incredible vision, and not just a vision, a reality more and more, to make every birth, if possible, a safe birth and a secure family to be built. It's MLIonline.org. We'll be right back. More of this great story. Don't go away. We are having an incredible conversation with Dr. George Mulcaire-jones, and we're speaking about Maternal Life International, this incredible vision that we hope will spread throughout the whole world. It's on the continent of Africa and several nations and in Haiti, that every delivery could be a safe delivery and every home could be a secure home for that child. It's MLIonline.org. Well, Doc, as you speak about trying to make every delivery a safe delivery, I mean, what a large order that is on that continent and those whose resources are so scarce. But how are you getting that across to people? How are you training people there to help with these deliveries?
Well, it's at once a simple and a complex answer. And let me start with the simple things that we can do that really make the difference in the life of a mother. It actually begins with a welcome. It's very interesting. I always say Africa is my teacher. And I've learned from them how important that welcoming and hospitality is. So there's places where they don't say hi or hello. They would say, you are welcome. So this pregnant woman who comes in labor, in pain, the first thing that happens is this, you are welcome. I am here for you and I am here for your baby. That's very powerful. Unfortunately, sometimes, we're so busy, we forget that step of welcoming and reassurance. I am here for you.
Wow.
Then it begins with checking the mother and checking the baby. And I think we might have a picture of a midwife and listening to the baby's heart with a primitive fetoscope. Actually, it's better if we have a little ultrasound to do it. But here's the idea of obstetrics, is you're taking care of a mother and you're taking care of the baby. So listening to that heartbeat, letting us know that that baby's not in distress. So we've welcomed the mother, we were caring for the mother, the midwife is there attending to her and the baby. So let's just say that the baby, the second stage of labor when the mother's pushing, the mother's exhausted, she can't push the baby out, and sometimes she needs a little bit of help. Well, here is a simple instrument. You can see it's called a vacuum extractor, and it doesn't need any electricity. So once we train a midwife or physician to use this and use it properly, we can put this on the baby's head, increase the suction, help pull the baby under the pubic bone so the baby can deliver. Okay? So that frees the woman's labor, gets the baby delivered. So that's a really simple thing we can do. Doesn't cost a lot of money. Now, when that baby's born, one of the things that we see is the baby can be apneic.
Right.
The baby's not breathing.
We had one of those at birth. Yeah.
Terrifying.
Terrifying.
Scary.
Yeah, here's a baby that won't breathe.
Right.
And until a baby takes a breath and starts breathing and gets rid of the fluid in the lungs. If the baby can't do that, the baby's going to die. So what do? We have, again, a tool that doesn't need electricity, and this is a bag and mask infant resuscitator. So after we clear the baby's airway, we can just put this on the baby's mouth mat and begin to resuscitate the baby. And 90% of the time, that's all you need is a bag and mask. Once you get the baby breathing, then the other physiologic mechanisms kick into place.
Yeah, I just want to, when we had our twins, and so Anna was born first, and she was not breathing, right? And she didn't look right, her color, the whole deal, and we actually thought we were having triplets, so it was just staffed with nurses and so on. But this baby was just not breathing, and it came out. The doctor was really great. The doctor said, everybody just stay cool, be cool. And so he took out a device like that, but I bet it was an electrical device that he had, and he put that on her mouth and then kind of did her heart like that.
Sure.
And it was wonderful to see her take those breaths and the color to change. But what you're saying is, in these countries where they don't have any, might not have the machinery or the resources or even electricity, my daughter was saved because she had that little thing on, and they might not even have that machinery or that, and this little kid's going to die, and they could have done something. It's like incredible. A whole life is lost.
Absolutely.
Just that thing.
Just this simple thing, absolutely. That's the difference between life and death for a baby, is whether you can get those first
You're supplying
breaths.
those.
Absolutely. So one of the things that we really have learned in our training program is it's one thing to provide education, but to provide education without the equipment, it's almost cruel. And that's one of the things we would certainly appeal to our viewers is this kind of, we can put together a resuscitation kit for a mother and a baby for $150 that can make a huge difference.
So you're saying like for $150,
Right. So
you can save multiple lives.
Absolutely.
That's incredible.
Absolutely. And then the other thing I forgot, I got ahead of myself here, is
I like to see all this stuff.
you like you're a tech guy, Jim, I can tell. Yeah, right. So this is pretty low tech, and this is just a blanket. And the blanket is, after the baby is born, is that we dry and we stimulate the baby. And then if the baby doesn't respond, that's when we have to turn to the baby. So a simple blanket is a huge part of this. So now we've got the baby safely delivered, the baby resuscitated, and here is a simple medicine called oxytocin or Pitocin. And what we do is, if you can give this vial either in an IV or as an injection, it significantly reduces the chance the woman will have a postpartum hemorrhage. So it makes the uterus contract, so she's much less likely to bleed to death.
Yeah.
Simple, inexpensive medicine. So those are the things that we can do now to save the lives of mothers.
We have one of those in our family too, who's a bleeder.
Really?
Yes.
Oh.
And so if she's not on what she needs to be on, it doesn't have, she could bleed to death. And so you're saying lots of times they're not even a medication, and a woman that doesn't need to bleed to death, it does, because they don't have something that simple. What does a vial of that cost?
I mean, that's $1. It's very inexpensive. Now, and this is where it kind of gets a little complex, is some of these medications like this ideally is heat sensitive, so would have refrigeration. So you got to have a small refrigerator. There's other circumstances where the only way to save a mother's life and a baby's life is with a cesarean section or with a blood transfusion. And so that introduces another level of resources needed. And we are working on some projects. We actually have a design team in Montana that's put together a mobile surgical unit made out of a shipping container to provide cesarean sections in remote areas.
think we had an email.
We're going to go straight right now, Doc, to an email. We have a question for you. I have heard pro-abortion advocates claim that abortion is safer than giving birth. They say that a woman's chances of complications or death are higher when she carries a pregnancy to term, and she is less likely to experience complications when undergoing an abortion, which often is an outpatient procedure. Are they right? And this is from Angel.
Well, first of all, there's no such thing as a safe abortion.
Right.
The abortion is lethal to
There you go.
to a baby, and 50% of the time that baby is a female. So there's no such thing as a safe abortion for a child. In Africa, if a woman has a complication from an abortion, that immediate complication is usually going to be one of two things. One is she's going to bleed and potentially bleed, or two is she's going to get an infection. And in these resource-limited settings, who's going to care for her in terms of that bleeding or that infection? When we look at pregnancy, certainly there is a huge imperative for us to improve maternal health care. And that's obviously what we're trying to do. But to do that, we need to invest resources, but we also need to have moral and ethical clarity. It's not a game of statistics. Is abortion safer? Is pregnancy safer?
Right.
Ultimately, pregnancy has benefits for the women. Pregnancy reduces your chance of breast cancer, colon cancer, uterine cancer, and so on. So there's a lot of health benefits that come from pregnancy. Abortion doesn't do that. Okay. And so our challenge is not to promote the myth, the lie of safe abortion. It's to promote essential obstetrical care, to provide these kind of things that really do save the lives of mothers and babies.
Yeah. Do you see, if this argument is being made here in America, abortion safer than pregnancy and all this, do you find this case being made even more? Because you're saying, I have the statistics, right? It's like 1 in 4,000 may die here as a result of their pregnancy. In other places, it's 1 in 40?
40.
Right.
Okay, so are people making the case, see how dangerous this is? You should, contracept, don't have a baby, and you should abort so you'll be safe? Is that case being made, especially in places on the continent of Africa?
Absolutely. There's tremendous pressure on African countries to accept this idea of abortion, which is very against their traditional values and so forth. And a lot of those statistics that claim that abortion is safer than pregnancy, they ignore some things. For example, one of the lowest maternal death rates in the world is in Ireland. Until recently, abortion was illegal. All right. So why was birth so safe there? And there's been good studies done for example, in Chile that shows that even the legalizing abortion has nothing to do with reducing maternal mortality. Yeah. So really, what saves the lives of mothers and babies is that we have emergency obstetrical care from the onset of labor to the first 7 days after she delivers. That's where the vast majority of women and babies die. And that's where we need to focus our resources.
Okay, well, we have one more email for you. I attended the Walk for Life in San Francisco this year, and I'd heard an African woman talking about how richer countries are trying to force Africans to legalize abortion and use contraception, or else the richer countries would withhold humanitarian aid. Can they do this? African people uplift the family and marriage, yet governments are trying to take that away. Can countries really force other countries into abortion? And this is from Jonathan from Arizona.
Well, it's amazing the power of the purse. That many times aid is dependent upon African countries accepting Western standards, Western values. And so you want money for, you have to accept abortion.
You want water?
Yeah.
You should have abortion.
Sure. So the legalized abortion, or the push for legalized abortion, doesn't come from the hearts and minds of Africans. it comes from the Western elites who say there's too many people. And they're also saying there's too many of certain kinds of people of different color.
Right.
And that's the dirty secret. And I think that it's a tragedy. It's, to me, to be in a place in Africa where a woman can die in giving birth because she lacks access to simple medicines, yet 3 blocks away from the hospital is a pharmacy stocked with all kinds of contraceptives and abortifacients funded by the U.S. government. That's wrong.
Right.
It really makes you think about population control.
So yeah, so we need to devote resources to not to prevent women from getting pregnant, because most of African women want to become pregnant. They want to have a family. But how do we care for women once they are pregnant and once they go into labor?
And to give them the best health care on that journey.
Sure.
Right.
Healthcare, and one of the things I hear you saying with Maternal Life International is beyond the kind of medical care, is that the strength of the family and the love of the husband for that wife and their healthy life and building on these pillars, that's a health issue as she goes along.
Absolutely, absolutely, and you know there's an interface between that too. Just to give you an example, is in Africa sometimes the husband, the man, has the authority, and with the Faithful House we try to change that. So he might say to his wife who's starting in labor, "We don't have the money, and my mother gave birth to you in the village. Why can't you deliver in the village?" Well, once he's been through the Faithful House, he's had education that, geez, there's risks, there's complications, then he's much more likely to say, yes, let me go with you to the hospital or the health center where we can have a safe birth. So that Faithful House formation helps in a sense, allowing for safe birth.
Do you have teams that are being developed to take this message of the Faithful House? Again, it's not a place, although you're probably going to share about developing, but just that message, are there teams that can go out with this message to other places? What's happening with that?
Sure. Well, we're very fortunate that we have active teams in 3 places. In Uganda, they're led by a couple, Gonzaga and Pasquesi Lubega, who I say are the professors of African marriage and family life. And they do a marvelous job. They've trained couples and facilitators in 13 African countries. They know what they're doing. And with them, we share a dream. And that dream is to build St. Joseph's Family Life Center, which would be a national center for training in Uganda and a regional East African center. And if I can just paraphrase how the dream started, it came...
Let's hold that right there.
Got it.
Because we're gonna go to a break at this point. We want to hear more about this latest development. Maternal Life International, literally saving lives and families and bringing renewal to the continent of Africa and into Haiti and hopefully throughout the whole world. We're going to take a break. We're going to be right back. There's a lot more to come. Please don't go away.
Welcome back. Well, you're an important part of the family, and guess what? You can join us live at home. So you can come down and fill up our audience. All you have to do is contact the Pilgrimage Department by emailing pilgrimages@ewtn.com. You might want to take a spiritual retreat. You might want to take a spiritual pilgrimage. Come to EWTN. You could go to the shrine up in Hansville, come to Irondale, Alabama, come to Mass, meet our guests, meet us, and everyone else who's here.
Joy,
Yes.
when we went to the Walk for Life, people were coming up to us and saying, it sounds like you're trying to get people to come down there to see your show and to do it. I said, yeah.
Yeah, we are.
We are. So just so you know, come
So
on down.
do that. You can contact pilgrimages@ewtn.com, or you can give a call 205-271-2966. Well, EWTN has 2 new books on religious catalog, and we know that you will want to get your hands on them. And the first one is Praying with Mother Angelica. These are meditations on the Rosary, the Way of the Cross, and other prayers. Now, this book was written, and most of the writings are taking before the network, so from the 1970s. So our very wise Mother Angelica has this beautiful collection for you all. And you can get this item number 8008. And 800830, sorry. And that's Praying with Mother Angelica. You won't want to miss that. If you've read all her other books and she's enriched your life, this is one more for you. And then the other one we have is A Holy Year in Rome, the complete Pilgrim's Guide for the Jubilee of Mercy. And this is written by our beloved Joan Lewis. Wow. And that is item number 3338. And that book is about all of coming to Rome, the basilicas. You'll discover the treasures of Rome and the Vatican, and you'll learn many interesting facts that Joan always has great things to share with us.
Seeing her and hearing
so you can get both these books, EWTNRC.com, 1-800-854-6316. EWTN has lots of things, RC.com, for you and me. Get us ready to meet Jesus. So now we're having this wonderful conversation with Dr. George Mulcaire-Jones, and he's telling us all about the St. Joseph Life Center, right?
It's the next step.
It's the next step. So finish telling us that conversation.
So this is a great dream that came out of our Ugandan directors. And to paraphrase Gonzaga, our director there, he said something like this: we as men met today in the Katova Cathedral Seminar, and we all agreed a center is desperately needed. We have so many broken families. And he went on to say, we chose the name St. Joseph because St. Joseph is the patron saint of fathers. We need his example and inspiration. He was a chaste man, he was a hardworking man, he served his family. And he went on to say that in the Faithful House program, he says, the mothers usually get good marks for their motherly role, yet the fathers usually get a failure. And so we want that image, that inspiration as St. Joseph. And we believe that this center will serve not only Uganda, but all the other countries around it. And we believe in God's mercy and that the money will come. So we've worked with them. We've purchased the land, this beautiful land overlooking Masaka, Uganda. It's been cleared. We've built the pit latrines, completed the architectural design. And we really want that to be a center to train couples in the Faithful House, to bring in medical personnel so that we can train them in these life-saving obstetrical care. In Haiti, we have a project, and again, run by wonderful people. T-Jox is the director, and other trainers there that run this program, do the Faithful House, and see the same kind of results. And also in Haiti, we're trying to work on another dream for a secure family, and that's to get wood to build safe houses using salvage.
What's the problem with
Haiti
wood?
is 99% deforested. So, for example,
That's a huge catastrophe there too, right?
yeah, the 2010 earthquake,
Okay.
160,000 people died.
Oh, my God.
Most of them died from collapsing cement buildings. So this is a dream we have.
Do you look for the hardest places to go to?
I think so, you know, and if you saw me as a carpenter, you would say, you know, why is he involved
really
in
is
this?
a miracle
Yeah,
worker.
so yeah, believe me, that's another part of our team that works on that. Thanks to God. And then in Tanzania, we have a marvelous couple who are spreading the Faithful House, Pascal and Melanie Mazuka. They also are on Radio Maria in Tanzania, and they do sessions on radio where people call in about the Faithful House. In Nigeria, we have an affiliate in California run by a pro-life OBGYN, Dr. Mary Davenport, called Magnificat Maternal Health Project, which has helped rebuild a midwifery school in the Diocese of Ida. And in other places, I mentioned Rwanda. I mean, we have so many demands for these programs. And Africa wants safe births. Africa wants secure families.
Yeah.
And we can give it to them.
Yeah, it reminds me, I hope I got the quote and the person right. I think it was Winston Churchill during World War II that made an appeal to others and said, give us the tools and we'll finish this job.
There you go.
And it sounds to me like that's a part of your vision. I mean, I don't hear you. I'm sure you would take, people from America and send them over and so on, and maybe there's a place for that. But you're really trying to give them the tools, raise up indigenous leadership, and they're saying, if we just have what we need, we'll finish the job here in terms of safe deliveries and secure families.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. There's just tremendous people in Africa. There's tremendous human resources. And what they lack is the tools and the infrastructure. Yeah. And that's what we want to bring. And we want to help them preserve their culture of life.
Yes.
I'm reminded of a proverb from Nigeria, from the Abira tribe. It says, "It is good clay that God used to make human beings."
Yes.
That's the gospel of life. It's embedded into their. Why do we want to take that away from them? We want to build on it.
Well, how has the gospel of life and St. John Paul influenced you so?
Oh my gosh. Well, John Paul II is a hero, a mentor. I remember when I first read the Gospel of Life and just being blown away by it and saying, this is the blueprint for authentic human development. This is how the world needs to change. This is the paradigm that needs to shift. The gospel of God's love, the gospel of the dignity of a person, the gospel of life are single and indivisible. And it's the gospel of the least of those. And that's what we're trying to reach. The least of those, the unborn child, the troubled pregnant woman, the mentally ill, the neglected elderly, the poor in our own communities and the communities like Haiti and Uganda. The gospel of life is calling us to serve them.
It's beautiful.
Well, I remember when Jim was reading the Gospel of Life, and it really was so influential in his conversion, coming back, his reversion back to the Catholic Church, and because he believed everything in it, and he was like, I'm trying to live my life, but everything that's happening here, I need to go back to Rome, you know, and it was like, yikes.
You've got the Gospel of Life book. Why don't you hold it up? And this is one of the...
Yes. This is as important as the instruments we have here. Yes.
Right. And the difficulty is that so few of us within the Catholic Church, some people might know the title or Evangelium Vitae, but we're not reading great encyclicals and documents that can really transform our lives and grip us.
Yeah, and I think what's so beautiful about the Gospel of Life is it talks about the prohibition, thou shalt not kill. And that's the basis for civil society. But it also talks about to be pro-life is to be for something. It's positive. It's life-giving. We're for the unborn child. We're for the pregnant woman. We're for people.
You're for the husband. You're for that man.
For the family. So John Paul II talks about life in the cradles of life, marriage and family and faith, and that's what
The cradles
gives
of life.
Yeah. So that's what we're about. And I must say too, coming from Butte, Montana, people say, why in the world this small place in Montana? We have a statue, Our Lady of the Rockies. And it's a fascinating story. It wasn't built by big architects or stonemasons. It was built by ordinary people, miners, electricians, plumbers, who took and put their faith into Mary. And I think there's no one closer to a woman dying in pregnancy than Mary. She herself was rejected. She went into labor and was said, there's no room at the inn. She gave birth to Jesus. She went through labor and wrapped him in swaddling clothes, not to make a Christmas card so that he would survive. So keeping an infant warm is a fundamental part of infant resuscitation. She went through a harrowing postpartum stage where Herod tried to kill her newborn son. So I believe that a sword still pierces her heart when she looks from her vantage and she sees women coerced into abortion. She sees babies being aborted. She sees women dying in childbirth. I believe she wants us to change those things, to welcome life, to accompany mothers, to give everyone the gift of a safe birth and a secure family. Why Butte, Montana? Why Haiti? Why Uganda? I think Mary has the answer. And the answer is the mighty God has done great things for me, and he's lifted up the lowly. The gospel of life lifts up the lowly.
Do you find devotion to Our Lady growing in those nations where you're working and in Haiti?
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. I think that that's really a part of their spirituality. And as I talked about with St. Joseph, we need him too.
Yes, yes, yes.
So I'm always overwhelmed and blessed to be in Africa, to be in Haiti, to see the gift of their faith that is transforming.
Dr. George Mulcaire-Jones, Maternal Life International, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for your vision, and not only your vision, all that the Lord's been able to accomplish through you, and we know that the best is yet to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
To Human Life International, please go to it. They deserve our support. You can save lives through this great work. God bless you. God bless all of your loved ones, generation to generation. Remember that life, marriage, and the family will prevail. Bye now.